at the beginning of the film, there's that great moment where Ivan is looking at the billboard. And I wanted to ask each of you, do you remember the first time you saw yourself on a billboard? I'll start with you, Angelina, and then for Thea, for a project that you did, maybe a movie or a show that you were involved in. But Angelina, what was the first time you saw yourself on a billboard?
First time I saw myself in a poster or billboard was Hackers. And I was with my then husband, and it was on the street we lived in, and we both found it so weird. And I think had the appropriate kind of, that's just absurd and, fun and just strange. And, it was okay. It was good to share it with somebody. So we didn't, you put things in perspective and you just find it what it is, which is it's crazy and funny that your face is on a thing.
And Thea, for you, was there a billboard of a project that you worked in that you saw for the first time, Me Before You, or anything you worked on prior?
Well, I'll tell you the funny thing about Me Before You is actually it was released in America maybe a week, I think it was, before the UK. So very sweetly, the producers and the PR guys had sent me these great photos of showing these huge billboards, which, in LA in particular, where the billboards are enormous, that was thrilling enough. But then when it came to England, one of my sons went on a school trip and he had to take the tube back in the day when we could take the tube. And he came running home from school that day to tell me that he'd seen the first poster that had gone up outside this tube. So I wasn't even there for that moment, but remembering his just, exhilaration that has stayed with me.
That's amazing. I was telling you guys before the interview started that this movie really hit me in a very emotional way. I can't wait to see my mom, because I haven't seen her in 5 months because of everything that's happening right now. I want to watch this film with her because I feel like her and I would really bond over it. Angelina, I wanted to ask you, when you tell stories like this and that have such important messages, do you then show them and watch them with your own children and go through the messages in these movies? Because I think they're so powerful, what you put on screen here. And it really hit me, and it really made me really want to think more about life and humanity and animals. Just interested for you in general. Will you show a film like this to your own children and talk about it?
I would, but this is a good example of what I learned from my children. I think if we just listen, not just to children, but listen to each other, is when we learn the most in life. And this was my daughter Shiloh, who said, "Mom, I found this book and I love it so much and it speaks to me." And I asked her why, and we talked about it from the character of Ivan. She's an artist and she draws, and she's has a kind of private life in self that isn't known. And I think as you grow, you have, as you were mentioning, you have these outside ideas of yourself or expectations, and then you're getting to know who you really are, and you want the space to know who you really are, which a lot of children don't have today because they have to declare somehow, and they're very pressured and very watched, and so of course the bigger message of conservation, the anti-poaching, sanctuary, the importance of natural, an animal being in its natural environment, but also, as you mentioned, so who you really are inside, and also, these promises made, promises kept, friendship, and there's many beautiful messages in it.
I think one of the most powerful messages for me was the moment that Ivan was talking about the idea that people want him to be ferocious and mean, but he just wants to be sweet and do his art. And I was just interested for you, Angelina, when you first started off in acting, did you find that people wanted to put you in a certain box in regards to, oh, you need to do these types of roles, this type of role? Like, did you ever feel like that people made you or wanted you to be a certain type of actor at first, and you kind of had to push through that?
I was kind of lucky in that I just didn't get the job of the girl next door or the cheerleader, or I just couldn't, I would fail at every audition. So I never kind of fit. And so I was very fortunate that I came up at a time where I could do certain characters where I did fit and find something like Gia or Tomb Raider, or I could kind of Maleficent. I could find my own path in characters that I did suit. And so I was lucky. It was hard to box me in, I think, because I'm a little odd.
Brian, the last time I saw you was actually on stage in Network. My wife got me those tickets on the stage where you would come over to the bar and do that amazing scene. I still can't get over Tatiana and Tony going outside and doing that walk and talk. I wanted to ask you, it kind of reminded me of watching Mac in the movie when he's looking at the people and doing his show. And I was wondering, did you kind of look at that as almost like being on stage, like being on Broadway almost, where he gets to play to these live shows when he does his shows at the day?
Yeah, when crafting the character, I thought that Mac was a real showman, and that's why I took on the British accent when he was the ringmaster, because it feels more fancy, especially to the American audience. And that's what he would do. Anything for the show. The show must go on. But backstage, he drops the accent, and we realize, oh, he's just a normal guy. And that's why I also had a stomach pad to make me look a little pudgier. And then I had in props, once in my office, you'll see a girdle that we imagine, oh, when he's the ringmaster, he wears the girdle, so he's thin and virile. And it was all a show. And I wanted to show that duality of the character and what he was struggling to maintain, and the desperation behind that. That was my end of it. And then the whole association with the animals was quite remarkable. And so pleased with the movie and what it says about our humanity and our need to connect with animals and to understand each other better through that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I loved the Ivan's arc and the whole story because it reminded me of myself. When I was growing up, I felt like my friends were like, "Oh, Kevin, you should be into sports." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm into movies and arts," and it kind of reminded me of Ivan and being accepted. I love the beginning of the film when Ivan is looking at the billboard, and I just was interested in knowing. Do you remember the first time you saw yourself on a billboard, whether it be a show or a movie? Do you remember the first time you saw that?
Yeah, I think the first time I ever saw my face on a billboard was for Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
And of course I do a double take. It's like, oh, wow. It's pretty remarkable to see yourself as large as a Buick, So,
Yeah.
but, and I still pinch myself. It's like I was a working actor for so many years and happy that I got to make a living as an actor. And the fact that I got so lucky, I got struck by lightning in the fortune category, and I never forget it. I'm very, very fortunate, and I never take it for granted.
Brian, there's a really great element in this film where Ivan's character keeps talking about this idea that people want him to be mean. They want him to be fierce. They want him to be like angry, like a gorilla would be. And he's like, no, I just want to be me and be sweet and be the artist that I am. I was just interested to know, like, as you first started working in Hollywood or even later in your career, did you ever feel like you were put into a box as to certain characters you would be playing? Or like, did you find yourself like people going, Brian, you should do this after Breaking Bad, or you should do that? Like, what were those conversations like?
Well, when actors first start, it's a very common thing for casting directors. It helps them categorize people. So when they know they're going to call in certain actors for a role, they'll go, oh, he's a comedy guy, and this guy is a drama guy. He's fierce. He does bad guys. He does good guys. It helps them, compartmentalize those things. And it's up to the actor then to break that mold. So as soon as what I always look for is if I was doing a comedy, like as soon as Malcolm in the Middle ended its 7-year run, I was offered some comedy roles of playing sweet dads. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I just did that. And so I switched to looking only for dramas. Well, after 6 years of Breaking Bad, I flipped over and go, okay, I need to leave the medium. And I said, I can't do television for 3 years. So I had to keep breaking the image so that the audiences would be helped by not seeing Walter White or Hal from Malcolm in the Middle all the time. They were able to calm down and then accept me in doing some other type of role. And so I continue to do that, whether it's going back to the stage or doing a film or doing a limited series or something like that. I want to keep people guessing. I think that's helpful for me to be able to continue to do a variety of roles.
Well, this is truly a beautiful role, a beautiful performance, a beautiful movie that I really just needed. And I'm not just saying that because we're talking. It just really kind of hit me right here, and it kind of made me understand that human beings can be great, and that's kind of the whole point of this movie. Is that there are bad people out there, but there are also great people out there. So thank you so much for your time, Brian. I hope you're staying safe, and hope your family's staying safe. And thank you for always being so kind to me, Brian. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Kevin, thanks so much. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Brian. See you, buddy. Having all three of you on here is an honor. I only have 4 minutes to try and talk to all three of you, so I'm going to try my best to get one question in for each of you. Sam, your face comes through that character so brilliantly. Your performance comes through Ivan.
Thank you.
I love in the beginning when he's looking at the billboard. And I thought to myself, it'd be kind of cool to ask each of you, do you remember the first time you saw yourself on a billboard? Do you remember that first moment you saw yourself on a poster, whatever that movie was being promoted? I'll start with you, Dame Helen Mirren.
I do, but the biggest moment for me, honestly, was when I saw myself on a billboard in Hollywood, because there's nothing quite like driving down Sunset Boulevard and seeing yourself up there. It's that kind of little English girl from a small town in Essex in England. That was an amazing moment for me.
The only thing I can think of is fairly recently, the Chateau Marmont, and in Hollywood. I agree with Helen; it has a different kind of meaning. Maybe I was on a poster back for Matchstick Men. That's maybe the earliest, but I can't remember. But yeah, Hollywood, Sunset Boulevard, billboard. It's a big deal, Yeah.
Danny, do you remember yours?
Yeah, I remember exactly. It was Romancing the Stone, and it was a picture of Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner on a vine, and I was held by the seat of my pants, I think, and we were flying through a jungle, and it was really exciting. Like my partners here are saying, it is like an astounding thing for an actor to see themselves on one of those big billboards on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It's like just so thrilling. I think probably, I don't know about you guys, but I went back and I took pictures of,
absolutely.
I did that. Me in the front and the billboard and that kind of thing. You just go nuts for it. It's like a really cool thing.
That's amazing.
I saved a clip in a newspaper once, a couple times actually. Yeah.
I think our billboard for the one and only Ivan is really cool too, and I love the fact I've seen some things that they have Snickers, and they have Helen's character, and they have Ivan, they have Bob, and they have all the different characters, Angelina, and it's really cool. And then they have the big Disney was planning to do the regular release. This is going to be even as exciting to be in everybody's home on, what's the date that we're in there, the 21st of August?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it's about that, maybe.
Yeah, and it's they have a big audience. I'm excited to see get everybody out there.
Yeah. And I love this film. I'm going to end on one quick rapid fire question for each of you that I'll take very quickly. In the movie, Helen, at one point, or Dame Helen Mirren, you actually say that the one thing you would miss if your character went out in the wild was blow dryers. So I was going to ask each of you, what is the one thing you would miss from being a human if you had to live in the wild? What's the one thing? And just really quickly.
Afraid of my vodka.
Do what?
My cocktail. That's what I would miss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam, for you?
I'd have to concur with that. Yes, a cocktail and some Cheetos.
I'm a
potato
chips
chips.
guy. I like
potato chips and beer. Yeah.
And Danny, for you, what's the one thing you'd miss?
Yeah. I'd go for the the nice the shake of that sound of the gin and the shake. Unless you have one, you can have one of those and figure out how to. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, how do you get the ice? How do you get the ice in?
I like a certain kind of gin. I'm very particular. I'm just really